A very good morning, children. How are you all? Hope you have understood how the diffusion takes place in the alveoli, in the lungs especially, and how the gases exchange will take place. So today we are going to read about a special topic, which is the transportation of gases. How these gases are transported. What is the mechanism behind the transport of the gases? We already discussed that air is a mixture of gases, isn't it? So these gases will contain the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Because of the concentration levels and all, oxygen is diffused into the blood. It comes into your lungs and then comes to your alveoli, and from alveoli oxygen is diffused into the blood. So when it comes into the blood, okay, they come to the RBC. RBC will have a special pigment which is called as the hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin is a iron containing protein. It is a iron protein because heme is the iron and globin is the protein. So this iron protein, which is also a pigment molecule. Why it is called as the pigment molecule? Because it gives color to the blood. Because it is giving the red color to the blood. So the red color of the blood is only due to the presence of the hemoglobin in the blood. So this hemoglobin, it is not only giving the color, but also it has a very, very important role to play in the transportation of the gases. So when the blood receives the oxygen, immediately what happens is the oxygen which is here will be binded to the hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin will get binded with the oxygen, and now this bound oxygen is called as the oxyhemoglobin. So now this is no more hemoglobin, we call it as oxyhemoglobin. Why it is called as oxyhemoglobin? Because now the oxygen molecules are bound to the hemoglobin. That's why now we call it as the oxyhemoglobin. Now this oxyhemoglobin will be in the lungs, isn't it? The oxyhemoglobin will be in the lungs and then into the blood, and the blood will carry it to the different tissues of the body. So when they go to the different tissues of the body, there are several cells in the body. Where there is necessity of the oxygen. Each and every cell will already contain the oxygen, and in the presence of glucose molecule, it will burn and it gives out the carbon dioxide. So whatever the energy comes out here, that will be utilized, and what is produced here is carbon dioxide is produced. So now this carbon dioxide is a toxic gas that should not be there in our body. So each and every cell will have the very good amount of carbon dioxide. So it should be replaced. So this oxyhemoglobin goes into the tissues. Now it has power to bind the oxygen, and when there is a requirement of oxygen, it goes to the tissues and divides itself. And this way, that is hemoglobin plus oxygen, it will divide, and this oxygen will be given into the tissues, and tissues they will diffuse this oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide. Okay, that means wherever there is a need of oxygen, there the hemoglobin will give off the oxygen to that particular parts, isn't it? So that is how a beautiful mechanism takes place in our body. That is how the blood is transported in the blood. So how the blood is transported? With the help of the hemoglobin. Very simple answer. With the help of the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin binds the oxygen molecules and takes them to the tissues, where they will divide and give out the oxygen, so that the cells will utilize the oxygen. Again they will produce the carbon dioxide. Again the blood will bring the carbon dioxide. So that is how, this is how the transportation of the gases will take place in the blood with the help of the hemoglobin. So now if you go to the higher altitudes, right? For example, if you are going to a Everest or Mount Everest or something, okay, so at a particular level, so up to 1/5 of the sea level and all, the oxygen will be sufficient. But once you cross that level and if you start going to the higher altitudes, the oxygen levels are very very low. The oxygen concentration is very very low at that place. Now you don't find the perfect amount of oxygen over there. So there is no 21% of oxygen over there. So, and that is how your hemoglobin molecules which are there, they will not be able to combine with the oxygen molecules, because the oxygen molecules which are there will be very less, and when you breathe them also, the hemoglobin will not be able to take the full oxygen. So when they travel, they cannot travel along with the oxygen, so there will be a deficiency of oxygen. Okay, that is the reason why you might have seen that the people who climb these mountains and the mountaineers and all, they will carry the oxygen cylinders on their back, because the levels of oxygen are very very low, and that's the reason why mountaineers carry the oxygen cylinders on their back, so that they can get the sufficient amount of oxygen. And even when you're in the water also, even though there is oxygen in the water, your lungs are not capable of taking the dissolved oxygen like fishes and all. So that's why again you carry the oxygen cylinders, so that you can survive, you can get the very good amount of oxygen, so that hemoglobin can carry them to the different tissues, and different tissues can survive because of the oxygen. Okay children, so now we'll come to the next part, which is the gaseous exchange in the capillaries to cells and back. So if you look here, how the gaseous exchange will take place from the capillaries to the cells, and also how it will go back. That is what we are going to discuss. It's a very huge topic, but we'll see point by point. Now these are all the cells. These are all the cells. All the cells will combine to form a tissue. So you can take it as a tissue or cells here, right? Now here I have drawn the blood vessels. So now these blood vessels, they have the red blood cells, right? And these red blood cells will have the hemoglobin on it, isn't it? So the red blood cells will have the hemoglobin on it, which will bind to the oxygen, and they will bring it to the different cells. Now, as we know that the cells will have the oxygen, and the oxygen will be used up. It will be used up, and now they require, what they require is the oxygen. So when this hemoglobin, this is the hemoglobin. So when it comes here, what happens is this hemoglobin will release the oxygen molecule. They will release the oxygen molecule, so that oxygen molecules can be diffused into the cells. So the oxygen will go into the cells, and already there will be carbon dioxide in the cells, and all this carbon dioxide in the cells will diffuse back into the blood. So this is how diffusion will take place here at the cellular region. So now, what is cellular respiration? So till here it is fine that how the transportation is taking place here, how the gaseous exchange is taking place here, how the oxygen is coming inside and the carbon dioxide is going outside. So that is all fine. But what about the topic which we call it as a cellular respiration? Now this is nothing but the cellular respiration, because the cells are taking the oxygen and giving out the carbon dioxide. Now what is the purpose of taking the oxygen? What is the process which is happening inside? Okay, so that is what we are going to see in a new topic which is called as the cellular respiration. So now this is a very very important topic, especially for your examination point of view. I want everybody to listen very very carefully, so that if it comes in the examinations, definitely you will be able to write it properly without any mistakes if you listen carefully. Okay, so let's go ahead with the cellular respiration. So now we'll go ahead with the another topic which is called as the cellular respiration, which I said that it's really very very important. Okay, so now we'll try to understand the term what is cellular respiration. So when you talk about only respiration, it is about the inhalation and exhalation of air is called as the respiration, right? So when you talk about the cellular respiration, it's not like that. So in the cellular respiration, you can define it as the or you can explain this in such a way that the process in which the energy is released, okay, the process in which the energy is released when the food molecules enter into the cell. When the food molecules enters into the cell, they get reacted with the oxygen inside, and what is released is the energy. This is the process which actually happens in the cell. Okay, so the term cellular respiration refers to the pathway, the complete pathway in which the cell will release the energy when the food molecules enter into them. So when the food molecules enter into the cell, the reactions which takes place inside will help the energy to come out, and this energy is very important for all the life processes which takes place in our body. So these are the life processes which are helping in our survival. Even if you have to lift your hand also, what you require is energy. So where this energy come from? It is not only directly coming when you eat the food. So if you eat the food, the energy will not come, isn't it? Because this food material should be digested, and the digested food material should go to the cell, and the reaction should take place here in the cell in the presence of oxygen. Only then energy will be released. That is why the pathway is very important here. So in this pathway, the food molecules enter inside, the oxygen enters inside, and because of the reactions between them, the energy will be released, and this energy we are using it for all the life processes. So for each and every living organism, cellular respiration is must. That means each and every cell should be able to respire. Each and every cell should be able to exchange the gases. Okay, so now this cellular respiration is a process which takes place in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen also. Okay, they can take place in the presence of oxygen, they can take place in the absence of oxygen. Cellular respiration, if it is taking in the presence of oxygen, we call it as the aerobic respiration. What do you call it as? Aerobic respiration. And if the same cellular respiration is happening in the absence of oxygen, we call it as the anaerobic respiration, or else we also call it as the fermentation. So we can call it as the fermentation. That means now here we can see two types of respiration here. One is aerobic respiration, which takes place in the presence of oxygen. Second one is anaerobic respiration, which takes place in the absence of oxygen. Now we come to the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, right? So what are prokaryotes? All the unicellular organisms are called as the prokaryotes. They will not have a definite nucleus. And coming to the eukaryotes, they have a different nucleus, and we are the best examples for the eukaryotes, isn't it? So now when you come to the prokaryotes, these prokaryotes, the best example you can take is the bacteria. Bacteria are the best example of the prokaryotes. So now here, these prokaryotes only will have a single cell. If you take amoeba, if you take the paramecium or any other single celled organisms, so they will have only single cell. So only that single cell will be able to take will be able to perform all the life processes. They should perform all the life process. For example, now if the oxygen has to enter inside, how it will enter? It will enter through a process called as diffusion through the cell membrane. That is what we have studied in the 9th class. So the cell membrane will help the gases to get exchanged, the food to get into the cell, isn't it? So now whatever the energy production or everything, so that will take place in the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm, you can say it is a site of cellular respiration. So if the cellular respiration has to take place, what is the place in the cell? So that is only the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is a place where the cellular respiration is taking place. And now coming to eukaryotes, all the higher animals and the eukaryotes which have the different nucleus in the cells, so where the cellular respiration will take place. Cellular respiration will take place in two places. One is cytoplasm, and second one is the mitochondria. So Mitochondria and cytoplasm are the sites of cellular respiration in the eukaryotes. So if you take the higher animals which have the different nucleus, the cellular respiration will take place in the cytoplasm and mitochondria, and whereas if you take the prokaryotes, for example, you can take the bacteria, the cellular respiration will take place in the cytoplasm. So now we'll come to this particular part here. Now we have taken that this is the cell, right? Now the food molecules entered into the cell and the oxygen also entered into the cell. So just because of the food molecules and oxygen entering into the cell, energy will not be released. Okay, it is not a single reaction, it is not a single step of reaction. Okay, so it will take some series of reactions to release the energy, some small series of reactions to release the energy. So energy releasing the energy release of energy is that doesn't take place in a single step, but it requires a series of reactions. So that is what we are going to talk about in the cellular respiration. Okay, so by this today we come to the end of this session. See you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Hope you have understood this session. Okay, so take care.